Imagine the scene. It's April 1970. You're 200,000 miles from home, floating in a tin can the size of a minivan.
Right.
An oxygen tank has just exploded. The command module is dying. The temperature is dropping to freezing, and carbon dioxide is rising to fatal levels. You are three men alone in the void.
Apollo 13, I mean, it is the ultimate stress test.
Exactly. Now, shift your focus to Houston, Mission Control, the room where the problem actually has to be solved. And this is the crucial part. What does that room look like?
It's definitely not a support group.
Right. It isn't a circle of people holding space for anxiety. It is a room of white shirts, skinny ties, chain smokers. It is an atmosphere of absolute freezing cold logic.
Failure is not an option.
Yeah, and they pulled it off. They brought those men home using slide rules, physics, and a carbon dioxide filter rigged out of duct tape and a sock. That was the
That's
state.
a lot of all when you think about it.
It is. But fast forward to today. We carry supercomputers in our pockets. We have more data than they could have ever dreamed of. Yet rockets are delayed for months, infrastructure is crumbling, bridges are snapping, and there is this nagging sense that we have lost.
Your edge.
Yeah, that raw, dangerous capability to just get things done.
Well, that's exactly the mystery we're tackling today. And I have to warn you, the answer we're exploring is going to make some people very uncomfortable.
For sure. We're diving into an ebook that positions itself as a field manual for the modern man. A book that claims we've basically broken the fundamental machinery of civilization.
It's called Space Exploration. Only Men Have the Focus and Vision to Build Rockets by Conrad Riker.
And it is not a light read.
No, it's a dense, aggressive, and frankly heavily red-pilled look at what Riker calls the unseen battlefield of modern engineering and society.
It's a heavy hitter. Riker's core thesis is unapologetic. He argues that the very traits society now labels toxic masculinity, aggression, stoicism, that obsessive tunnel vision focus, he claims those are actually the biological hardware required to build civilization.
He's essentially arguing that we've confused toxicity with utility, that the specific biological traits that save lives in a crisis are being regulated out of existence by a culture that prioritizes feelings over physics.
Before we unpack this, and we're going to go deep into the biology, the corporate capture, the dating market data, I want to be super clear. We're just impartial guides here. We're exploring the claims made in this text. But honestly, this conversation is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely. Riker has compiled data from thousands of studies.
Yeah, so if you want the full blueprint, the full operating system for this philosophy, you need to pause this right now. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks and buy the ebook Space Exploration. Only men have the focus and vision to build rockets.
Seriously, the data density in this book is incredible. We can only cover the highlights in this deep dive.
And while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button right now. We're bringing you the discussions the mainstream won't touch. Also, make sure to follow the author at Conrad Riker on Substack.
That's at Conrad Rikery. That's where his analysis gets even sharper.
Right. But for now, let's get into the mission. We are exploring the biology of purpose, the capture of our institutions, and the blueprint for reclaiming that Apollo-level competence.
Let's start with the why, the hardware.
Yeah, so Riker comes out swinging against the modern idea that gender is a social construct. He takes us straight to Siberia, the Chukchi hunters.
Right, this is a brutal environment. He describes a 1987 blizzard. You cannot survive that with a social construct.
Exactly.
Riker points out that these hunters survived not because they were sensitive or communicative, but because their testosterone levels chemically sharpened their spatial reasoning.
It's so interesting because he frames it almost like a computer spec sheet. He's not talking about personality at all.
No, he's talking about processing power. He calls it the myelin sheath advantage.
The myelin sheath.
Yeah, he cites University of Chicago data showing that under high stress, high testosterone subjects, specifically men solved complex navigation problems, 37% faster than their counterparts.
37% is a massive margin in a survival situation. That's not a rounding error.
It's literally the difference between life and death. Riker explains that testosterone actually thickens the myelin casing around neural axons. It speeds up signal transmission for spatial tasks. So when the blizzard hits, or the rocket is drifting off course, the male brain is chemically wired to turn into a calculator.
So he's saying it's not about moral superiority, it's just about specialization. You don't use a hammer to write a poem, and you don't use a poet to drive a nail.
Exactly. He uses this great phrase, lions don't hold diversity seminars when hyenas attack.
Right, they send the hunters.
And this brings us to what he calls the crisis gap. This is where the data gets really stark in the book. He brings up the Costa Concordia disaster.
The cruise ship that capsized off the coast of Italy? That was a chaotic scene. I remember seeing the footage on the news.
It was. Riker digs into the actual crew logs. He claims that male officers coordinated 78% of the successful passenger evacuations.
78%.
Yeah. His analysis suggests that while female brains excelled at comforting, prioritizing child gathering and emotional stabilization, which is obviously crucial, there was a measurable delay in the logistical processing of the evacuation routes.
So the argument is that it's a trade-off. Ruthless efficiency versus empathy.
Precisely. Riker frames it as a biological fork in the road. Female brains prioritize empathy and nurturing, which is essential for the family unit. Male brains prioritize efficiency, which is essential for the crisis. He even brings in fire department data to back this up.
Oh, I remember this part. It was about rescue times in mixed districts versus traditional districts.
Yeah, he claims that districts with over 30% female firefighters average rescue times that are 4.3 seconds slower.
4 seconds doesn't sound like much on paper. I mean, if I'm waiting for a coffee, 4 seconds is nothing.
It doesn't sound like much until you're in a burning building, or until the oxygen runs out. Riker's argument is that we've stopped optimizing for the crisis and started optimizing for social engineering.
Right. Which works fine when things are calm.
Exactly. But when the ship sinks or the rocket explodes, you need that 4 seconds. That 4 seconds is smoke inhalation. That 4 seconds is the structural integrity failing.
It's a sobering thought for you as a listener to consider. He argues, we've built a world that assumes nothing will ever go wrong, so we've optimized for nice. And that transition from biological hardware to institutional failure is where the book really starts to heat up.
Yeah, he talks about institutional capture. Basically, we've taken this biological reality that men are wired for this specific type of high-stress focus and tried to legislate it away in engineering in corporate America.
The Mars Climate Orbiter is his prime example here. This is a classic engineering failure.
The one that crashed into Mars because of a metric conversion error.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin used English units, NASA used metric, everyone knows the error. But Riker's source material adds a layer I hadn't heard before.
Right.
He claims that female engineers on the team actually spotted the discrepancy weeks earlier. But, and this is the kicker, they delayed reporting it to avoid conflict within the collaborative team culture.
So the desire to maintain social harmony overrode the cold, hard correction needed. They didn't want to be the one to say, hey, you messed up.
According to Riker, yes. And it cost $327 million. He contrasts this with the cold efficiency of SpaceX, or the old Apollo teams.
Where conflict isn't avoided.
Exactly. He argues that in those environments, conflict is the method of discovery. You fight over the math until the math is right. Feelings don't enter the equation. You can hate each other, but if the math works, the rocket flies.
He also mentions the Orion toilet, which sounds like a joke, but he treats it as a symptom of a real disease.
I suspect this will be a favorite detail for you listening right now. It highlights the absurdity perfectly.
$300 million spent on a gender-neutral toilet system for space. It seems a bit excessive.
Which was eventually abandoned anyway. Riker uses it to highlight misplaced priorities.
Yep.
While we're spending a fortune trying to make space plumbing inclusive, we're losing the edge on propulsion and landing systems.
He literally says it's simpler to reach Mars than to design a gender-neutral bathroom in zero-G, and maybe we should focus on the Mars part.
It really paints a picture of a corporate double bind for men. You're expected to be this decisive leader, the guy who saves the day, but the moment you act like one, you're punished for it.
The toxic tone trap. Riker tells the story of a Detroit auto worker. This guy is a leader on the floor. Blunt. Gets things done. Production is up. Management promotes him for his leadership.
Okay.
Then HR fires him for an aggressive tone during a debate about safety protocols.
Because he raised his voice. Or because he wasn't validating everyone's opinion.
Because he was direct. But then comes the twist that ruins his life outside of work too.
Right, the family court kicker.
6 months later, he loses custody in family court for not being nurturing enough. It's a pincer movement. Men are punished in the workplace for the aggression that drives results, and punished in the home for the lack of softness. You literally cannot win under these new rules.
Riker cites a Goldman Sachs finding that really drives this home regarding efficiency.
Yes, regarding trading floors. The study found that male-dominated trading floors made crisis decisions 40% faster than gender-balanced teams.
Why is that? Is it just a lack of debate?
He says it's because they weren't managing emotions, they were managing risk. Riker brings up the vulnerability trap. We tell men, it's okay to cry, be vulnerable, open up. But the market in reality punishes it every single time.
The CEO example comes to mind here. That one felt ripped straight from the headlines.
A CEO cries during an earnings call. He shows authentic vulnerability, just like the corporate consultants tell him to. What happens? The stock drops. Contrast that with Elon Musk firing staff at midnight to save the company from bankruptcy. It was cold, it was brutal, he slept on the factory floor. But the market rewarded the strength. Riker's point is vulnerability is a luxury, competence is a necessity.
Which segues perfectly into the most personal battlefields for a lot of guys listening to this deep dive right now. The mating market.
Oh, yeah.
Riker calls this the ground truth. Because you can talk about space toilets all day, but what happens on Friday night actually matters to people.
This is where he pulls data that I think a lot of men feel intuitively but haven't actually seen written down. He goes deep into dating app algorithm.
The 80-20 rule. Or is it worse now?
It's actually worse than 80-20 according to the Tinder data Riker cites. He claims women rate 80% of men as below average in attractiveness.
Wow.
They are effectively competing for the top tier of men, the top 5 to 10%.
So while society tells men, just be yourself, be nice, be a soft guy, the data shows that unless you're in that top echelon of status or looks, you're basically invisible.
And nice doesn't help if you're vulnerable. Riker cites a UCLA study about the ick factor.
The ick factor.
Yeah. It claims women lose sexual attraction to men who share deep insecurities. There's this quote in the book that is just withering. He writes, "Vulnerability is just weakness with better PR."
Man, that hits hard. It goes against everything we're told in pop culture, every rom-com, every sitcom. We're told that women want the sensitive poet.
But they marry the successful architect. It aligns with the hypergamy data he presents, the provider paradox. Men are expected to provide, but if a woman earns more, the divorce risk skyrockets.
Really?
He says women are 17 times more likely to divorce men earning less than them.
So look at it this way. You have to earn more, be stoic, be in the top 10%, and if you fail, you end up in divorce court.
And this is the unseen battlefield Riker talks about. He argues the family court system is a machine designed to dismantle fathers. The maternal presumption is the default setting. It's not a fair fight.
He tells that story of the father and engineer who lost custody because his job was too demanding.
Right. He was working 60-hour weeks to pay for the house, the lessons, the lifestyle. The court saw his absence as neglect. Meanwhile, the mother's part-time yoga job was seen as flexible and present.
It's crazy.
The very work ethic that allows the father to provide is used against him to strip him of his children.
And Riker's advice here is stark. He doesn't say, fight for justice with a speech. He literally says, shut up.
Tears in court are fatal. He cites a statistic stoic men won custody 70% of the time, while emotional men were labeled unstable.
Unbelievable.
It's the ultimate double standard. Society demands vulnerability, but the legal system punishes it as instability. If you cry in court, you aren't a loving dad. You're a loose cannon.
So, if the system is rigged, if the institutions are captured, and the dating market is hostile, what is the solution for you, the listener? This is where we get to the Brotherhood Blueprint.
Riker shifts from diagnosis to prescription, and the first step is rejecting the trust fall culture. He talks about stoicism as armor.
He goes back to history for this. The Spartan Goage, the Esche hunters. He really leans on these ancient examples.
He argues that male bonding isn't about sitting in a circle talking about your feelings. It's about shared struggle. Pain creates bonds. He mentions the Dunbar number, the idea that male groups like armies or engineering teams can scale effectively because they are hierarchical and mission-focused.
Right, whereas female groups, he argues, tend to fragment as they grow because they rely on lateral consensus.
Exactly. So men need to find their tribe, but a tribe based on action, not a book club.
A platoon, a crew. And that tribe needs to be physically capable. The chapter body as fortress is fascinating. He dives into the biology of testosterone and sleep.
That stat about sleep, 4 hours of sleep equals aging 30 years hormonally, that scared me straight, honestly.
Well, terrifying. If you aren't sleeping, you are chemically castrating yourself, according to the book. He talks about red light therapy, magnesium hacking the biology to maintain that hunter state. You can't lead a family or a company if you're chemically depleted.
And he totally rejects functional fitness. He's all about moving heavy objects, none of this BOSU ball stuff.
Yeah, he uses bone density as a metric of survival. He wants men doing farmer's carries, log splitting, real heavy load-bearing work. He says modern gym culture is way too aesthetic. You need to be built for utility.
And the diet implies a heavy carnivore angle. The steak versus oatmeal comparison regarding blood sugar and focus.
Oatmeal makes you sleepy, steak makes you hunt.
Exactly. And he links this physical state directly to wealth architecture. This isn't just about gym gains, it's about financial sovereignty.
This is where he warns about the fiat currency failure. He advises men to buy hard assets, gold, silver, farmland, things that are real. If you can't touch it, you don't own it.
And the poison pill trust. I found this fascinatingly paranoid, but also really pragmatic.
Oh, the legal structure?
Yeah, it's a legal structure he recommends to prevent spendthrift heirs from destroying a legacy. It's about control from the grave, almost, ensuring that the resources you build aren't squandered by a generation that lacks your discipline.
It's about thinking 100 years into the future, not just the next quarter. He also says men must embrace risk. Crypto, startups. He says safety is an illusion.
He points out that the men who built the world, the explorers, the rocket scientists, they were willing to be disposable. They took risks that would terrify the average person today. They climbed into rockets knowing they might explode.
That brings us to the core of this deep dive, the real aha moment.
It really is about that legacy compass. Riker's argument is that civilization wasn't built by safe choices. It was built by men willing to do the dangerous, dirty, high-focus jobs. From the coal mines to the Apollo capsule.
And that you, the man listening to this right now, are part of that lineage.
Exactly. You are not an apologist. You are a builder. Riker wants you to reclaim that identity, to stop apologizing for the biology that allows you to focus, to build, to protect. You are the descendant of the men who survived the Ice Age and built the rockets.
It's a call to arms, really. Call to reject the modern narrative and look at the scoreboard of history.
And the scoreboard shows that high-risk, high-focus male groups drive progress. They always have, and according to Riker, they always will if we let them.
Look, we have covered a lot of ground today, but as we said at the start, we are just scratching the surface of what is in this book. Riker goes into feminism's fault lines, the rationality advantage, spiritual anchors. We didn't even get to touch on the spiritual aspect of brotherhood.
It is an ultra-long, dense text. If this conversation sparks something in you, you really need the full manual.
So here is your mission. Pause the player. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now. Buy Space Exploration. Only men have the focus and vision to build rockets. Read it. Annotate it. It's not just a book. It's a toolkit.
And for the ongoing analysis, the stuff that's too hot even for the book, you need to follow Conrad Riker on Substack.
Absolutely. Go there now.
Yeah.
And if you got value from this deep dive, you want us to keep bringing you these deep dives into the unseen battlefield, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. We're here to bring you the insights the mainstream ignores.
One final thought from the book to leave you with. It's a quote that really sticks with me.
Let's hear it.
Women birth children. Men birth progress. One requires nurture. The other requires titanium nerves. Only fools confuse the two.
I'm all on that. We'll see you on the next deep dive.